Just remember this, most revolutions have been led by fairly wealthy people. They've always been led by people who don't represent the people. It's a small minority. So when I hear on TV, people say, well, what's going on in our colleges, it's not most students, it's just a little group of students. I say, you don't even understand history. Revolutions aren't led by the majority, they're led by a minority. And this is a Jew-hating, American-hating, Marxist, Islamist minority. It's now open season on Jewish people. I'll prove it to you. Here's a clip from the Met Gala in New York. The peaceful pro-Hamas protesters, they're now attacking the Jews who are outside. Go. Look how they're surrounding him. Look how they're beating him. They grabbed his, I guess, Israeli flag. Look how the mob is gathering. What's it look like, too? It looks like the Middle East. It's a Jewish man with a long beard, with his flag. They're chasing him down the street. He was by himself. Didn't do anything. United States of America. Streets in New York. Look. These are obviously Palestinians. Covering their faces, carrying the Palestinian flag, wearing the Palestinian flag. Who beat that guy up? Now, if you're a serious president of the United States, you look at that and you go, whoa, 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 we can't tolerate that. I'm going to put my foot down. We have federal laws to deal with this, civil rights laws and other things, but he doesn't do that. He gives a speech at the Holocaust Museum and Memorial. We have this encampment at Harvard with a spokeswoman there. She's so enraged, so angry, she can barely contain herself. Let's take a look at this. Go.
Harvard think this is going to stop? The student intifada has engulfed the entire country. It is changing the conversation, expanding the realm of possibility. And if these universities care only about their assets, the student movement will become a liability.
Who is this puke? It's amazing how the media don't look into who these people are, who their parents are, where they come from, what's their background. Just remember this, most revolutions have been led by fairly wealthy people. Pretty much. And they've always been led by people who don't represent the people. It's a small minority. So when I hear on TV, people say, well, what's going on in our colleges, it's not most students, it's just a little group of students. I say, you don't even understand history. Even some of my friends say this on TV. Revolutions aren't led by the majority. They're led by a minority. Whether it's the Russian Revolution in 1917, whether it's the Communist Chinese Revolution in 1948, our revolution, about a third of the population led the revolution. Revolutions aren't led by the majority. They're led by a minority. And this is a Jew-hating, American-hating, Marxist, Islamist minority. Who is this girl? There is her face. Why don't they tell us? You know damn well if this were MAGA, which of course it's not, they'd be looking into it. Now, she just talked about a nationwide movement, basically to overthrow the country. Why isn't the word insurrection ever used against these people? They're saying that they're leading an insurrection. That's what they're leading, an insurrection. They want to overthrow our economic system. They want to overthrow our government. We're colonialists. We're imperialists. Why don't they say they're leading an insurrection? I'll prove that to you, too. Let's go on to the next clip, folks. And here we are, George Washington University. Now, what's interesting about George Washington University, it's in the District of Columbia, and almost 30% of its students are Jewish. And yet they have to put up with this. All students are having to put up with this. And it wasn't until literally today or last night that the mayor of Washington, D.C. finally authorized the police chief of Washington, D.C. to send in the riot police who broke this up. This is the crowd who used graffiti against the statue. It's a very famous statue of George Washington. It's called George Washington University. Well, they dressed our founding father, the father of our country, as a Palestinian, wearing the head garb, covering his face, and spray painting the monument. It's really quite sick. But what do these people want? The extermination of the Jews and the extermination of the United States. It's called an insurrection. Well, we don't call this an insurrection. We save that for MAGA. Well, check this out. Go.
Because you, each and every one of you, believe in a world liberated from colonialism.
Now let's wait a minute. My eyesight isn't as good as it used to be. Why are they all wearing masks? We know why. Because mommy and daddy might be pretty pissed off if they saw their little trust fund kids or their little kids where their tuition is paid and their board is paid, food and board and all the rest of it, protesting. Or it could be that people are covering their faces because they're notorious. Go ahead.
White supremacy, capitalism, and Zionism. We are here to create that world.
She's like a zombie. We are here, each and every one of you believes in the world liberated from colonialism, imperialism, white supremacy, capitalism, Zionism. Yes, that's what we're here for. These are punks. Capitalism, Zionism. We're being conquered from the faculty of these universities and their administrators. We're being conquered because they have destroyed this generation of students, many of them anyway, many of them. One day they will be, spreading out like cockroaches into the rest of society as teachers and lawyers and doctors, certainly so-called journalists. Do you ever wonder to yourself what's going to happen to your children and grandchildren? I wonder this all the time. I wonder this all the time. What's happening to our country? What's going to happen to my children and grandchildren? We're not going to have, they aren't, the freedoms that you and I have and are trying desperately to hold on to. They're going to be surrounded by people who are fanatics and zombies who've been indoctrinated in this Marxist Islamist cancer. So many of our constitutional firewalls and institutions have been breached that are supposed to protect them. The massive waves of illegal immigrants coming across the country without proper vetting, their children and grandchildren will become citizens. What will they do? What will they think? We're being overwhelmed in every respect. As if somebody at the White House, and they are, sitting there saying, okay, immigration, okay, attack capitalism, we've got climate change, okay, wokeism in the military, the police are the enemy, all right, good, imprison Trump, disbar his lawyers, bankrupt Trump. It's like a whole long list. Go ahead.
We look at the world and we recognize an empire on the verge of implosion, and you refuse to go down with it. There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. Through Shahada Square, we have the platform to make decades happen. And in order to do so, we have to be responsible and intentional with how we use this platform.
They take down the American flag, and they're raising the Palestinian flag in Washington, D.C. And you and I are funding all this. So George Washington University in Washington, D.C., where 30% of the students are Jewish, not that far from the great monuments in our country, not that far from Arlington Cemetery, they took down the American flag and they raised the Palestinian flag. I want you to think about this. As Joe Biden keeps attacking Israel and protecting Hamas and wants to bring tens of thousands of Palestinians into this country from Gaza, I want you to think about the destruction that's taking place within our country, from within, by Biden and his party and his surrogates in the media and academia. This girl, in her monotone, spoke the truth about who they are and what they want. They want to liberate the world. This is Marxism, pure Marxism, from colonialism, imperialism, white supremacy, capitalism, Zionism. In other words, liberate the world from the majority in the United States, from the Jews. Replace capitalism with socialism and Marxism.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to levintv.com and subscribe now.